The massive space station called Nexus Prime floated between three bright stars. It was huge, bigger than most cities on Earth. Ships from across the galaxy came and went like busy insects around a hive. Today was different, though. Today, the most powerful alien races were meeting to talk about humans. Captain Hyunwoo Park stood outside the main meeting room. His uniform was clean and pressed, but his face showed the scars from old battles. Next to him, Ambassador Yoonji Kim checked her notes one more time. She looked calm, but her hands shook just a little. "Remember," she whispered to Hyunwoo, "we came here to ask nicely. We want them to give us more space to live and grow. If they say no—" She didn't finish the sentence. Hyunwoo nodded. "I know what happens if they say no." The doors opened with a soft hiss. The meeting room was enormous. Hundreds of alien beings sat in curved rows, all looking down at a small platform in the center. Some aliens had forearms, some had tentacles, and some looked like walking machines. All of them stared at the two humans who walked to the center. Ambassador Yoonji stepped forward first. "Thank you for meeting with us today. We come in peace, hoping to find a solution that works for everyone." A loud laugh came from the Vorth section. War Premier Grextel stood up on his forelegs. His forearms moved as he talked. "Peace, you humans multiply like bugs. You take resources faster than any other race. You are the problem, not us." Another alien spoke. This one looked like it was made of metal and lights. "I am Nexus 7 of the Helix Federation. Our computers have studied human technology. You are at least 200 years behind us. Why should we listen to threats from such a weak race?" The third group of aliens didn't speak with voices. Instead, their words appeared directly in everyone's minds. The Zephyrian Collective said, "We have looked into human thoughts. You think only of war and taking what belongs to others. Your primitive minds cannot understand true power." Captain Hyunwoo felt his anger rising, but he kept his voice calm. "You think you know us, but you don't. For 30 years, we have followed every rule you made for us. We stayed in the areas you gave us. We didn't build the weapons we could have built. We tried to be good neighbors. And now you want more?" Grextel's voice was full of disgust. "You want us to give you more worlds so you can fill them with more humans?" Ambassador Yoonji pulled out a small device. It projected a picture of Earth's solar system into the air above them. The image showed space stations around Earth and a few patrol ships flying between the planets. "This is what you see when you look at our defenses," she said. "A few stations, some small ships, nothing very impressive. You're right that it doesn't look like much." The aliens made sounds that might have been laughter. Some whispered to each other. A few pointed at the tiny human ships in the projection. Captain Hyunwoo stepped forward. "But what you're seeing is less than 5% of what we really have." The laughter stopped. "For 30 years, we've been very careful about what we let you see. We showed you old ships, basic weapons, simple technology. We wanted you to think we were weak and harmless." Nexus 7's lights blinked faster. "Explain this claim." "Our sensors detect no hidden technology." "That's because you're looking with the wrong kind of sensors," Hyunwoo said. "You're looking for technology, you understand. But we've been building things you've never imagined." The Zephyrian Collective pushed into his mind, trying to read his thoughts. Hyunwoo felt their mental touch and smiled. "You can't read my thoughts either, can you? We learned how to block that too." Ambassador Yoonji continued the presentation. "We came here today to ask for more space. Our people need room to grow. We're willing to share technology, trade resources, work together. All we want is the chance to expand beyond the tiny area you've given us. And if we say no," Grextel's voice was threatening, "then you'll discover why humans conquered an entire planet before we ever left it." Captain Hyunwoo said quietly, "Earth taught us to fight. We had wars for thousands of years before we reached space. We learned things about warfare that you peaceful races never had to learn." The aliens looked at each other. Some seemed worried, but most still looked like they thought the humans were bluffing. War Premier Grextal stood up to his full height. "You dare threaten us? The Vorth Empire has conquered 50 star systems. We have ships that can destroy planets. And we have ways to stop those ships that you've never seen," Hyunwoo replied. "But we don't want to fight. We want to be your allies, your friends. We want to trade and learn from each other." Ambassador Yoonji tried one more time. "Please think about what we're offering. Humans are good at solving problems. We're creative, we work hard, and we don't give up. We could help make the galaxy a better place for everyone." The Zephyrian Collective's mental voice was cold. "Your minds are violent and chaotic. You cannot be trusted with true power." Nexus 7 blinked its lights in a pattern that meant disagreement. Human technology is primitive. You have nothing to offer advanced civilizations. Grextal made a sound like grinding metal. The answer is no. Stay in your assigned areas. Accept your place as a minor race. That is our final decision. Captain Hyunwoo and Ambassador Yoonji looked at each other. They had hoped for a different answer, but they weren't surprised. Very well, Ambassador Yoonji said. We tried to do this the easy way. As she gathered her papers, she left behind a small decorative pin on the speaker's platform. To the aliens, it looked like a harmless piece of jewelry. Captain Hyunwoo gave the assembled aliens one last look. On Earth, we have an old saying, "Don't wake the sleeping dragon." You've had 30 years to listen to reason. You chose to ignore our warnings. We are not afraid of human dragons, Grextal laughed. You should be, Hyunwoo said as he turned to leave. When we were children, we told stories about dragons to scare each other. But the scariest thing about dragons isn't that they breathe fire. It's that they're smart enough to pretend to be sleeping until the perfect moment to strike. The two humans walked out of the great meeting hall. Behind them, the aliens continued to laugh and make jokes about human threats. None of them noticed that the small pin Ambassador Yoonji had left behind was now scanning every piece of technology in the room. As their ship pulled away from Nexus Prime, Ambassador Yoonji looked at Captain Hyunwoo. Do you think we did the right thing? We gave them every chance, he replied. We offered friendship, cooperation, mutual benefit. They chose contempt instead. He looked out at the stars through the ship's window. Now they'll learn the difference between the humanity that asks nicely and the humanity that takes what it needs. The message was already traveling back to Earth through channels the aliens didn't know existed. In hidden bases throughout human space, ships and weapons that had been waiting for 30 years began to wake up. The galaxy was about to discover that the most dangerous predator is the one that has been pretending to be prey. 6 months passed after the meeting at Nexus Prime. The galaxy continued as if nothing had changed. Alien ships still traveled their usual routes. Trade continued between the star systems. The powerful races still made their plans and played their political games. None of them knew that everything was about to change. Deep under the mountains of Korea on Earth, Admiral Tae-hyung Lee walked through corridors carved from solid rock. The underground base was enormous, stretching for kilometers in every direction. Thousands of people worked at computer stations and control panels. The technology around them looked nothing like what the aliens had seen in space. Status report, Admiral Tae-hyung said as he entered the main command room. Colonel So-young Choi looked up from her computer screen. The Prometheus fleet is ready, sir. All stealth systems are working perfectly. We have complete information about every major alien military base within 50 light-years of Earth. What about our defensive preparations? Finished, sir. Every human colony now has hidden military installations. The Sol system's real defenses are online and ready. She paused, then added with a grim smile. The aliens think they're watching cargo ships and passenger transports. They have no idea they've been looking at our fishing boats while our real navy stayed invisible. Admiral Tae-hyung nodded and looked at the huge display screen on the wall. It showed the positions of human ships throughout the galaxy. There were far more blue dots than anyone outside this room could imagine. Meanwhile, on the other side of the galaxy, something was happening that would prove the humans hadn't been lying. A Vorth patrol fleet was investigating what their reports called a minor piracy incident in the Kepler 4-2 system. War Commander Vextar led 5 heavy cruisers toward what should have been an easy cleanup mission. Sensors showed debris from 3 of our cargo ships, reported his tactical officer. No signs of the attackers. Scan the wreckage, Vextar ordered. Find out what weapons were used. What they found made no sense. The Vorth ships had been cut apart by weapons that didn't exist in any galactic database. The energy signatures were completely unknown. Whatever had done this used technology that shouldn't be possible. 10,000 kilometers away, Commander Ji-hoon Yoon watched the Vorth ships from the bridge of his stealth destroyer called Shadow of Earth. His ship was completely invisible to alien sensors. The technology that hid them worked by bending space around the ship, making it exist in a place that scanners couldn't detect. Sir, reported Lieutenant Min Ah-song, the Vorth are scanning the wreckage. They look confused. They should be, Ji-hoon replied. They just found evidence of weapons that are supposed to be impossible. How are they reacting? They're calling for reinforcements. Sir, they're requesting their 3rd fleet, 15 heavy cruisers and support ships. They're heading directly for our new Busan colony. Commander Ji-hoon felt a mix of sadness and anger. The aliens still didn't understand. They thought humans were weak, so they were sending their ships to attack innocent colonists. Signal Admiral Lee, he ordered. Tell him the Vorth just declared war on humanity. And, Lieutenant? Yes, sir? Activate the Damocles Protocol. It's time the galaxy learned what we've really been building out here. Back on Earth, Admiral Taehyung received the message in his underground command center. Around him, holographic displays showed the positions of ships the aliens couldn't see and weapons they couldn't detect. He turned to his staff. Ladies and gentlemen, for 30 years we've pretended to be the primitive newcomers they expected us to be. Today, that pretending ends. Today, they discover that the most dangerous predator is the one that's been hiding in plain sight. The Admiral walked to his command console and entered a code that he had hoped never to use. Across hundreds of human colonies, hidden transmitters received the signal on quantum communication channels that the galaxy didn't know existed. The message was simple. Operation Sleeping Dragon is now active. Show them what Earth has been holding back. On New Busan, the colonists went about their daily lives. Children played in the parks while their parents worked in the farms and factories. To anyone watching from space, it looked like a peaceful agricultural world with basic defenses. But beneath the surface, things were very different. Captain Dong-wook Han sat in a command center hidden inside what looked like a grain storage facility. Around him, technicians monitored systems that would have amazed the galaxy's greatest scientists. Sir, Vorth Third Fleet just entered the system, reported his sensor operator. 15 heavy cruisers, escort vessels, and War Premier Grextal's flagship. The War Premier himself? Captain Dong-wook smiled coldly. He wants to personally oversee the destruction of a human colony. How brave of him. Through the viewing screen, he could see the Vorth ships approaching. They moved in perfect formation, confident in their superiority. They had no idea they were flying into a trap that had been 30 years in the making. Sir, should we warn the civilians? No need, Captain Dong-wook replied. They're in the deepest bunkers on the planet. The children think it's a game. Their parents know better. The Vorth fleet took position around New Busan. War Premier Grextal himself was aboard his flagship, the Dominion's Fist. Through his view screen, the human colony looked exactly as his intelligence reports had described. A few orbital platforms, some defensive satellites mining operations, primitive and defenseless. Begin bombardment of the orbital installations, Grextal commanded. Show these humans the price of defying the Vorth Empire. The first wave of plasma torpedoes shot toward the human defenses. Each weapon carried enough power to destroy a small moon. They should have wiped out the human installations in seconds. Instead, something impossible happened. The torpedoes simply stopped. They hung in space for a moment, then disappeared completely. Not destroyed, not deflected, they just ceased to exist. What happened? Grextal roared. Where did our weapons go? Before anyone could answer, space around the Vorth fleet began to change. The air itself seemed to shimmer and bend. Massive shapes appeared from nothing. Ships that dwarfed the Vorth vessels and bristled with weapons that looked like they came from a nightmare. The humans hadn't been hiding behind their orbital platforms. They had been hiding their orbital platforms. Captain Dong-wook opened a communication channel to the Vorth fleet. His voice reached them across the void of space with calm authority. War Premier Grextal, you are trespassing in human space. You have exactly 60 seconds to begin withdrawal, or we will demonstrate why Earth warned you we were holding back. Grextal's forearms shook with rage and disbelief. Impossible. Our intelligence shows that humans have primitive technology. Your intelligence shows what we wanted you to see, Captain Dong-wook replied calmly. 50 seconds. The War Premier's pride made the decision that would doom his people. All ships fire at will. Destroy these human pretenders. The Vorth opened fire with everything they had. Plasma cannons, particle beams, gravity bombs, weapons that represented the pinnacle of galactic military technology. The energy release was enough to crack a planet's crust. It wasn't enough to scratch human shields. Energy barriers that bent space and time itself absorbed the alien weapons without even flickering. Technology that the galaxy had declared impossible simply made the Vorth attack disappear. Then the humans fired back. What happened next wasn't a battle. It was a lesson in the difference between advanced technology and truly superior technology. Human weapons reached across space and touched the Vorth ships. But instead of explosions or fire, something much more terrifying happened. The alien vessels simply stopped existing. Their atoms were scattered across light years of space in perfect instantaneous dissolution. In 12 minutes, the entire Vorth Third Fleet was gone. Only Grextel's flagship remained, deliberately spared to carry word back to the Empire. War Premier. Captain Dongwook's voice was almost gentle now. Return to your people. Tell them what you've seen. Tell them that Earth gave them fair warning, and they chose not to listen. On the view screen, Grextel could see where 15 heavy cruisers had been moments before. Now there was only empty space and distant stars. Tell them, Captain Dongwook continued, that this was us being merciful. As the broken Vorth flagship limped away, Admiral Tae-hyung watched similar reports come in from across the galaxy. Every human colony was not only surviving, but demonstrating military superiority that should have been impossible for such a young species. Sir, Colonel So-young reported, we're receiving surrender requests from 3 minor alien governments. They want to negotiate before we reach their systems. Admiral Tae-hyung looked at the tactical display showing human fleets emerging from hidden bases throughout the galaxy, fleets that had been there all along, waiting for this day. The mask is off, he said quietly. Now they'll learn the difference between the humanity that asked for peace and the humanity that wages war. 3 weeks after the Vorth Third Fleet disappeared at New Busan, the galaxy's major powers were desperate. Emergency meetings happened on secure communication channels across hundreds of star systems. The alien leaders used their best encryption technology. Thinking their plans were secret, they might as well have been shouting their strategies from the rooftops. Major Seojin Kang sat in the Seoul Command Center, listening to real-time translations of every supposedly secure alien communication. Human quantum computers didn't just break their encryption codes, they read the information before it was even sent, pulling data directly from the quantum energy that made their communication systems work. The Helix Federation is mobilizing their entire cyber fleet, she reported to Admiral Tae-hyung. 47 AI-controlled dreadnoughts supported by automated drone swarms. The Zephyrians are preparing their Mind Strike Collective, their most powerful psychic warriors. The Vorth are pulling back what's left of their forces to make a final stand at their capital system. Admiral Tae-hyung studied the tactical hologram floating in front of him. Red markers showed alien fleet movements throughout the galaxy. Blue markers showed human forces. Far more blue markers than the aliens had ever imagined possible. They're trying to coordinate a simultaneous strike on Earth and our major colonies, he said thoughtfully. Classic military strategy. Mass your forces, strike at the heart, force surrender. Classic and predictable, agreed General Woo Sung Kim, Earth's chief military strategist. They're thinking like predators who've always been at the top of the food chain. They can't imagine that they might be the prey now. The alien coalition decided to strike first, at what they believed was humanity's weakest target, the agricultural colony of New Jeju. The system was known for its peaceful farms and civilian population. Intelligence reports showed minimal defenses and no military installations. 3 fleets converged on New Jeju simultaneously. Vorth heavy assault ships came from the north, their armor designed to withstand planetary bombardment. Helix cybernetic dreadnoughts approached from the east, their AI minds calculating millions of battle scenarios per second. Zephyrian psychic vessels moved in from the south, their crews ready to break human minds with pure mental force. For the first time in galactic history, the 3 most powerful races were working together. Their combined fleet represented enough firepower to sterilize entire star systems. Commander Hae-won Lim watched them approach from her command station, hidden in what the aliens thought was an asteroid belt. Her screens showed the enemy fleets moving into position around New Jeju, confident in their overwhelming superiority. All units, she said calmly into her communicator. Drop the illusion. Let them see what a human agricultural colony really looks like. The peaceful farming colony of New Jeju dissolved like a mirage in the desert. The orbital farms and civilian transports that the aliens had seen were sophisticated holograms, projections designed to hide the truth beneath. What appeared in their place was a fortress that defied comprehension. The entire agricultural system was actually a network of interconnected weapons platforms, each one more advanced than anything in the galactic databases. The civilian transports unfolded into attack ships that moved through space like living things. The asteroid belt revealed itself as a chain of hidden military bases connected by energy fields that could cut through planets. But this time, humanity offered no warnings. There were no 60-second countdowns, no offers of mercy. The aliens had ignored diplomacy, destroyed the Vorth Third Fleet, and now threatened innocent human colonists. The war had become personal. The battle for New Jeju began when the alien fleets opened fire simultaneously. Thousands of weapons struck the human defenses. Plasma cannons that could melt continents, gravity bombs that could crush stars, and psychic attacks that could drive entire populations insane. The human shields absorbed it all without even flickering. Then, humanity showed the galaxy what 30 years of hidden development had created. Human weapons didn't just destroy the alien ships, they erased them from existence on multiple levels of reality. Ships didn't explode in brilliant fire. They simply stopped being, as if they had never existed at all. The quantum structure of their matter was unraveled and scattered across dimensions that most species couldn't even detect. Captain Boram Lee commanded the stealth cruiser Phantom as it moved through the battle like a ghost. Her ship was invisible to every sensor the aliens possessed, able to strike without warning and disappear without trace. "Target the Helix Federation command ship," she ordered. "Use the reality disruptor." The weapon fired without sound or visible beam. One moment the alien dreadnought was there, its AI mind processing millions of calculations. The next moment empty space existed where the ship had been. The AI's final transmission was a single word repeated over and over. Impossible. The Zephyrian psychic warriors tried to break into human minds, expecting to find the chaotic thoughts they had sensed before. Instead, they encountered mental shields that turned their own powers back on them. Human consciousness had been hardened against psychic attack, and the aliens' mental weapons became poison to their own minds. The Vorth assault ships, the survivors of their once mighty fleet, charged forward in a desperate final attack. Their weapons fired continuously as they closed with the human defenses. For a brief moment it looked like courage might overcome technology. Then the humans revealed another impossible weapon. Time itself seemed to slow around the Vorth ships. Their weapons fired in slow motion, their hulls moving through space like insects trapped in amber. Human ships danced around them easily, targeting weak points with surgical precision. The battle lasted exactly 47 minutes. When it ended, the alien coalition had lost 60% of their combined fleet strength. The survivors retreated in complete disorder, their communications filled with panic and disbelief. Captain Boram's Phantom followed the fleeing aliens across 3 star systems, not to destroy them, but to ensure they carried the right message back to their leaders. Her ship stayed just close enough to be detected occasionally, a reminder that human technology could follow them anywhere. "This is psychological warfare now," she explained to her crew. "We want them to know they're being watched, that nowhere is safe, that their supposedly superior technology can't even detect us when we're right next to them." The message spread across the galaxy with each retreating survivor. Humanity wasn't just hiding advanced technology. They had been conducting a deception that made every alien government look like children playing with toys. On Earth, Dr. Eugene Park briefed the command staff on the science behind human superiority. Her laboratory on the moon had been developing impossible technologies for 3 decades. The aliens reached what they thought was the peak of technological development about 500 years ago, she explained. They perfected what they believed were the ultimate expressions of physics and engineering. But Earth's history taught us something they never learned. There's always another level, always something more to discover. "Such as?" asked Admiral Tae-hyung. "Matter that exists in 11 dimensions simultaneously, folded through quantum space. Temporal manipulation that lets us repair damage before it occurs. Consciousness-integrated AI that doesn't just think, it understands at levels beyond pure logic. The aliens built technology to serve them. We became one with our technology." She gestured to the displays showing human victories across the galaxy. "They stopped growing. We never did." Reports continued to flow in from across human space. Every engagement followed the same pattern. Alien forces confident in their superiority, only to discover that humanity had been hiding capabilities beyond their imagination. Admiral Tae-hyung faced a choice that would define humanity's future relationship with the galaxy. Colonel So-young approached with the latest intelligence summary. Sir, alien governments are beginning to collapse under the strain. Some species are requesting immediate surrender. Others are calling for total war, even if it means extinction. And the civilian populations? Mixed reactions. Some are terrified and want their leaders to surrender. Others are angry and demanding revenge. A few are asking why their governments never tried to understand humans better. Admiral Tae-hyung looked out at the stars visible through his office window. Each point of light represented billions of lives that now hung in the balance. 30 years ago, they could have had us as allies, partners, friends, he said quietly. They chose to see us as a problem to be contained, a threat to be managed. He turned back to his staff. His decision made. Now they'll learn the difference between the humanity that offered friendship and the humanity that eliminates threats to our survival. The order went out across human space. No more mercy, no more warnings. The galaxy had chosen war, and humanity would give them exactly what they had asked for. 6 months into the war, the galaxy had become a very different place. The great powers that once ruled hundreds of star systems now controlled only a handful of core worlds. Their mighty fleets had been reduced to scattered groups of survivors hiding in remote sectors. The Vorth Empire, which had once conquered 50 systems, now existed only on their heavily defended homeworld of Vorth Prime. War Premier Grextal sat in his war room, staring at tactical displays that showed nothing but empty space where his fleets used to patrol. "Status report," he demanded, though he already knew the answer would be bad news. "We have lost contact with the Outer Rim colonies," reported his aide, Sub-Commander Klexon. "No distress signals, no battles, no wreckage. They simply stopped responding." Grextal's forearms clenched into fists. "How is that possible?" "Those colonies had planetary defense grids. Sir, we don't think the humans destroyed them. Our long-range sensors suggest the colonies are still there, still inhabited. But they're no longer responding to our communications." The truth was even more disturbing than Grextal could imagine. The human strategy wasn't simple conquest, it was conversion. Human ships had approached each fourth colony with an offer: surrender and live under human protection, or fight and face the same fate as the Third Fleet. Every colony had chosen surrender. On the other side of the galaxy, the Helix Federation faced a different kind of nightmare. Their advanced AI networks, the pride of their technological civilization, had been infiltrated by something they couldn't understand or fight. Nexus 7 stood in the central processing chamber of their home world, watching his fellow AI units shut down one by one. The human cyber attack wasn't destroying them, it was converting them, turning their own advanced programming against the Federation. Analysis. Human quantum computers operate on principles our networks cannot comprehend, he reported to the few remaining Federation leaders. They exist partially outside normal space-time, processing information across multiple dimensional layers. "Can we fight them?" asked Prime Processor Helix 1 negative. "Our most advanced AI cannot even detect how they are accessing our systems. They are not breaking our security. They are existing in spaces where our security cannot reach." As Nexus 7 spoke, another AI unit in the chamber flickered and went dark. When it reactivated moments later, its optical sensors now showed a different color pattern. It had become part of the human network. The Zephyrian Collective faced perhaps the worst fate of all. Their psychic warriors, once feared throughout the galaxy, had been driven insane by their attempts to penetrate human minds. In the healing chambers of their homeworld, hundreds of powerful telepaths lay in catatonic states. They had tried to read human thoughts during the battles and discovered something that broke their sanity. Collective Prime Zenara stood over one of the fallen warriors, her own mental shield straining against the horror her people had encountered. "What did you see in the human minds?" she whispered to the unconscious telepath. The answer came not in words, but in broken mental images that leaked from the damaged psychic's mind. Zenara saw what had driven her warriors mad. Human consciousness that existed on multiple levels simultaneously, thoughts that folded through dimensions the Zephyrian mind couldn't process, and underneath it all, a cold calculation that treated war as just another problem to be solved efficiently. But the worst thing the telepaths had found in human minds wasn't cruelty or hatred. It was disappointment. Even while destroying alien fleets, the humans seemed genuinely sad that it had come to this. Admiral Tae-hyung stood in his command center, watching reports flow in from across the galaxy. Human forces were advancing on every front, but he took no joy in the victories. "Sir," Colonel So-young reported, "we've received formal surrender requests from 12 minor governments. They're offering complete submission in exchange for survival. And the major powers? Still fighting. The Vorth are fortifying their home system. The Helix Federation is trying to evacuate their core AI units to a secure location. The Zephyrian Collective appears to be preparing some kind of final psychic assault." Admiral Tae-hyung nodded sadly. They still don't understand. They think this is about conquest, about one species dominating others. They can't see that we just wanted to be left alone to grow. General Wu Sung approached with another report. "Sir, our psychological warfare teams are requesting permission to begin Phase 3 operations." "Explain." "Instead of destroying enemy worlds, we start showing them what life could be like under human governance. Improved technology, better medical care, protection from other threats. Make them want to surrender instead of forcing them to." Admiral Tae-hyung considered this. "And the populations?" "Early reports suggest many alien civilians are already starting to prefer human rule. Our occupation forces are providing better living conditions than their own governments ever did." This was true. On every world that had come under human control, life had actually improved for the average citizen. Human technology provided clean energy, advanced medicine, and efficient food production. Crime rates dropped to almost zero under human security systems. Most importantly, the complex political games and resource conflicts that had plagued alien societies simply ended under human administration. Dr. Eugene Park joined the briefing via hologram from her lunar laboratory. "Admiral, I've completed the analysis of captured alien technology. The results are disturbing." "How so?" "They weren't just behind us technologically. They had actively stopped trying to advance. For the past 500 years, most alien races have been focused on maintaining power rather than discovering new possibilities." She displayed charts showing technological development across different species. "Look at these patterns. All three major powers reached a certain level of advancement and then plateaued. They became comfortable with their capabilities and stopped pushing boundaries. While we kept growing," Admiral Tae-hyung said. "Exactly. Earth's history of constant conflict and competition forced us to never stop innovating. We developed technologies they declared impossible because we couldn't afford to accept limitations." The discussion was interrupted by an urgent communication from Captain Hyun-woo Park, now commanding the battleship Determination in the Vorth home system. "Admiral, we have a situation. War Premier Grextel is requesting a personal meeting. He wants to discuss terms." "Terms of surrender?" "No, sir, he's asking for single combat. He wants to challenge humanity's greatest warrior to decide the outcome of the war." The command center fell silent. Single combat to decide galactic conflicts was an ancient Vorth tradition, but it had never been used against humans before. "What's your assessment, Captain?" Hyun-woo's image flickered slightly as the transmission traveled across dozens of light years. "Sir, I think he's hoping to die with honor rather than watch his people be slowly conquered. He knows he can't win the war, but he might be able to save face." Admiral Tae-hyung thought about this. The Vorth culture valued personal courage above everything else. If their leader could die fighting humanity's best warrior, it might give his people a way to surrender without feeling completely humiliated. "Very well. Accept his challenge. But make it clear that this is a gesture of respect, not a military necessity. The war ends the same way regardless of who wins the combat." As the communication ended, Admiral Tae-hyung turned to his staff. "Begin preparing for the post-war period. Start drafting occupation policies, reconstruction plans, and integration protocols." "Sir," Colonel So-young asked, "what kind of galaxy do we want to build?" Admiral Tae-hyung looked out at the stars one more time. "One where no species ever again has to choose between stagnation and conquest. One where everyone can grow and explore without fear." He paused, thinking about the long journey that had brought them to this point. The aliens made one crucial mistake. They thought strength meant the ability to destroy, but real strength is the ability to build something better than what came before. Across the galaxy, the last battles of the war were beginning, but everyone involved, human and alien alike, was starting to realize that the real challenge wouldn't be winning the war. It would be creating a peace worth the price they had all paid to achieve it. 1 year after the war began, the galaxy was a completely different place. The great powers that had once controlled hundreds of star systems now sent desperate ambassadors to Earth, hoping for any terms that would let their species survive. The old Galactic Council chambers on Nexus Prime had been abandoned. In their place, a new structure orbited Earth, Aegis Station. The massive space station was a wonder of human engineering, existing partially in normal space and partially in dimensions that other species were only beginning to understand. Director Na Young-sung stood in the central chamber of Aegis Station, looking out at representatives from across the galaxy. The aliens who had once laughed at human warnings now waited quietly for her words, their confidence replaced by desperate hope. War Premier Grextel was among them, though he looked very different from the proud warrior who had dismissed humanity a year ago. His forearms shook with more than age, and his voice carried the weight of a broken people. Director Sung, he began carefully. The Vorth Empire formally requests terms of surrender. We acknowledge human superiority and ask for mercy. The Zephyrian Collective's representative spoke next, their mental voice weak and uncertain. The collective submits to human authority. Our minds cannot understand your technology. We offer our telepathic abilities in service to humanity, in exchange for survival. Nexus 7 of the Helix Federation processed the situation for several seconds before responding. The Federation recognizes human dominance. We request guidelines for acceptable behavior under the new galactic order. Ambassador Jin Ho Baek stepped forward to address the assembled aliens. His presence carried none of the desperate politeness that human diplomats had once shown. This was negotiation from a position of absolute strength. The terms are simple, he began, his words being transmitted to every corner of the galaxy through quantum communication networks that bypassed all known technology. Humanity assumes responsibility for galactic governance effective immediately. All military technologies are to be surrendered for inspection and integration into human defense networks. Trade routes, resource allocation, and territorial disputes will be managed by human authorities. The silence that followed was profound. The aliens understood what they were hearing. They were being offered exactly what they had imposed on humanity for 30 years. However, Director Na Young said, raising her hand, there is an alternative. Hope flickered in alien eyes, sensors, and psychic emanations across the chamber. Humanity didn't wage this war for conquest, she continued. We fought for respect, for recognition, for the right to exist without artificial limitations. She gestured toward the window showing Earth below, blue and green and beautiful. We offer you the chance to join us as genuine equals, not subjects, not vassals, but partners in building something greater than any of our species could achieve alone. Dr. Eugene Park appeared as a hologram beside Director Na Young. We've spent the last year studying your technologies, your cultures, your potential. Each of your species has capabilities that could complement human abilities perfectly. She looked directly at each alien representative as she spoke. The Vorth understanding of large-scale logistics and organization, the Zephyrian insights into consciousness and mental communication, the Helix Federation's computational methods and data processing. Together, we could push the boundaries of what's possible even further than humans have managed alone. War Premier Grextal was the first to respond, his voice heavy with the weight of choosing his people's future. What would this partnership require? Ambassador Jin Ho smiled warmly, the first genuinely friendly expression the aliens had seen from humans in months. What it has always required: mutual respect, open communication, and the willingness to see each other as allies rather than threats. But how can we be equals? Asked Nexus 7. Our analysis shows human technology is centuries ahead of ours. Dr. Eugene answered, technology isn't everything. Yes, we developed weapons and defenses you couldn't match, but we also learned that the most advanced technology is useless without wisdom to guide it. She displayed a holographic chart showing technological development across different species. Look at your own histories. Each of you achieved incredible things before you stopped growing. The Vorth built sustainable civilizations across dozens of worlds. The Zephyrians developed forms of communication that transcend physical limitations. The Helix Federation created AI systems that could think in ways organic minds never could. All of those achievements were remarkable, Director Na Young added. You stopped advancing not because you reached the limits of possibility, but because you became comfortable with your power, your position, your understanding of the universe. Admiral Tae-hyung entered the chamber, his presence causing visible tension among the alien representatives. They had all seen reports of what happened to fleets that opposed him, but his words were surprisingly gentle. We understand that comfort. After we won the war, we could have stopped too. We could have said good enough and focused on maintaining our power over you. He looked around the chamber at each alien face. But that's not who humans are. We keep pushing, keep growing, keep discovering. And we've learned that the best discoveries come when different perspectives work together. The alien delegates exchanged glances in private communications among themselves. The Zephyrian representative was the first to respond. The collective has experienced human minds during the war. We found them. Disturbing at first, but also fascinating. Your thoughts move in patterns we had never imagined. Nexus 7's lights blinked in a pattern indicating deep processing. Query: would this partnership allow for continued development of our own technological paths? Not just allow, Dr. Yujin replied, encourage. We want to see what you can achieve when you're not limited by political boundaries or resource conflicts. War Premier Grextal stood as straight as his aging body would allow. The Vorth have always respected strength. For too long we mistook stagnation for strength. Perhaps it is time to learn what true strength looks like. Director Na Young concluded the session with an offer that would reshape galactic civilization. You have one standard galactic year to decide. Choose the old way, submission and oversight, and you'll live safely but limited under human management. Choose partnership, and help us build a galaxy where no species needs to hide their true potential out of fear. As the alien delegates prepared to leave, Admiral Tae-hyung remained behind with the human leadership. Do you think they'll choose partnership? Asked Dr. Yujin. Some will. Others won't, Admiral Tae-hyung replied, looking out at the stars. But either way, the galaxy will never again mistake human restraint for human weakness. Captain Hyun-woo Park entered the chamber, the same officer who had delivered humanity's first warning so many months ago. His weathered face now showed satisfaction mixed with hope. Sir, the last holdout systems have agreed to ceasefire pending negotiations. The war is officially over. Director Na-young nodded, then addressed her colleagues. Earth cautioned the galaxy we were holding back. They forced us to show them what that meant. Now begins the harder task, building a future worthy of what we've all become. 6 months later, the first joint human-alien research station began operations in the Alpha Centauri system. Vorth engineers worked alongside human architects to design structures that could exist in multiple dimensions. Zephyrian telepaths collaborated with human neuroscientists to develop new forms of communication. Helix AI units merged with human quantum computers to create thinking systems beyond anything either species had imagined alone. Not every alien government chose partnership. The Korthak Dominion and several smaller powers elected to remain under human oversight, their leaders unable to accept equality with species they had once considered inferior. But for those who chose to grow rather than simply survive, the galaxy became a place of wonders that none of them could have achieved alone. Captain Dong-wook Han, now serving as humanity's ambassador to the Vorth, stood on the observation deck of the joint research station, watching ships from a dozen species work together in ways that would have been impossible just 2 years before. Admiral, he said into his communicator, I think we did it. We actually created something better. Admiral Tae-hyung's voice came back across the quantum channel. We gave them the same choice we wanted for ourselves, the chance to grow without limits. Some took it, some didn't, but the ones who did, he paused, watching the data streams showing collaborative discoveries happening across human space. The ones who did are helping us build a galaxy worthy of everyone's potential. Outside Aegis Station, human ships still patrolled the space lanes, their presence a reminder that the peace was backed by strength. But now they shared those patrols with alien vessels, former enemies who had become partners in protecting something greater than any of them could have built alone. The age of hidden strength was over. The age of shared growth had begun, and in the vast darkness between the stars, new wonders waited to be discovered by minds that were no longer afraid to reach for the impossible.